Yes, girl. Sing.
If I rule the world. Okay. Again, you guys are done with me now. Enough is enough. Hello, everybody. If you're joining us, and I hope some people will be joining us soon. We are here for we're on episode 4.
Can you believe it? We did it.
We're on episode 4. This is pretty
Our
awesome.
first. This is live, so I'm just gonna fix the light here for a second.
We're gonna fix the light.
This is what live
is like.
When
right?
things are done in real life.
So this is what happened. So we're adjusting. But it is crazy to think that we are on episode 4. Like, this is, we did it. Like, we did it. We're doing it.
We did it.
She did that.
Yes.
If you guys follow us on Instagram, which you should, I put up a post yesterday about the documentary. Yes. She did that on Netflix, which is amazing. You need to watch it. It is a must watch. And that's like the theme. She did it. She did that. We're doing it. So, thank you. Welcome to episode 4.
Not Your Typical Girl Talk.
Not Your Typical Girl Talk.
Episode 4.
And this episode is called, ladies, Not by
Bread Alone.
Our relationship with religion.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what she was going to say. Or men shall not live by bread alone.
Right.
One of
those two.
It's one of the
They both have bread involved,
well, both have bread.
You know.
Whatever hurts.
Whatever.
So,
yes.
Clearly we're going to be talking about religion. I'm going to put that disclaimer that everybody says. Some viewers might find some of these opinions offensive. That's okay. We are going to be talking about a very big topic. We're not going to sit here and pretend that we happen to know everything about religion. I definitely do not. No. My ladies, great friends, my sister friends over here know a lot more than I do. But we all have an opinion.
We do.
And we wanted to do this topic because of, well, a lot of reasons. But, one of the things is, faith, we talk about the fact that we're walking in faith right now. All of us, again, if you've watched all our episodes, we're now all self-employed when we started out January 1st being employed by other people. So we are definitely walking in faith, but in walking in faith, you can't just walk by faith alone. You actually have to do the work. And so this was a topic that we thought we needed to talk about, is this relationship we have with religion and what that can do to some people. So if you've been watching the show, you know I like to go to my trusty laptop, and I wanted to start with a verse. And what is it again, ladies? Because I'm going to butcher this.
It's Deuteronomy.
Okay, 8 verses 2 and 3.
The Old Testament.
Verses 2 and 3. And so it says, "And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no." Verse 3, "And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee now that man doth," see, I don't read the Bible often, "that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live." So I probably messed that all up, but I'm okay with that. But of course, we were talking about man not living by bread alone, so this is why I did this first. And for those of you that don't know what manna is, because quite frankly, I didn't. Manna, I'm going to read it here, was an edible substance which God provided for the Israelites during their travels in the desert during the 40-year period following the Exodus and prior to the conquest of Canaan. So, clearly, I wanted to read that in the beginning because it talks about men not living by bread alone. And that's going to be the theme of what we talk about, right? About this concept that you can't just get on by your knee on prayer and then think that that actually means that something is going to happen for you, because you need to do work. So,
you got to do work.
You got to do some work.
You can't just expect, Jesus is not a genie. You can't just take, snap your fingers or wiggle your nose or rub a magic lamp and get 3 wishes. You have to actually get up from your knees after praying and do the work.
Yeah.
My
opinion on that, and when we were talking about this, I was very, very, very stern on the idea that faith is an action word.
Action. Not about
yeah, it's
sorry,
it's a word in which you show that you have faith.
That's
right?
it.
And the only way to show that you have faith is to do things. So if you are praying that you get food, you kind of have to do something, whether that means getting up, going to the cupboard and opening up the cupboard and seeing if there's any food there, or maybe even calling someone and saying, wow, I'm so hungry. Whatever the action
Whatever
is.
the action.
To the food
Mhm.
bank. Whatever you need to
Yeah,
do.
go
Whatever
to
you
the
need to
food
do.
bank, whatever it is. But you have to do the action in order to see the faith work,
That's it.
in my opinion. But I think that sometimes that's not, we preach a lot about the idea of God being able to do and to do and to do, but we don't talk a lot about what we are supposed to do in partnership.
That's it.
Because God does for those who do for themselves.
Yeah,
like
God helps those
God
that help
helps us,
themselves.
exactly. That's the one I was looking for. God helps
Mhm.
those who helps themselves,
That's
right?
it.
Like it's not just about praying and what we need to do and taking the literal sense and walking in faith. So we've got a lot of stuff to discuss. I wanted to take it back. So I do a lot of research for the show. We have planning calls and we talk about a lot of stuff. So,
Yes.
I'm taking it all the way back and I'm going to be giving people information that they may or may not know. And I'm going to be giving people, again, information that, again, might be offensive to some. But this is the reality. When it comes to the Black community's adoption of Christianity, this came from slavery. I think we all know that in Africa, we were not practicing Christianity, at least on the widespread. I'm not going to go all the way back because I haven't done all the research, but we were practicing different religions.
Right.
Now, I'm going to read something. There's going to be a lot of reading, but I'm going to tell, for those of that you don't know, the Bible was used to justify slavery. And there's something called a slave Bible, which we will go not a lot into, but briefly into. So Christianity for our community came out of slave owners trying to convince us that you needed to basically heed to your master.
Right.
And they redacted things out of the Bible so that when, and a lot of us couldn't read, but for those who could read, they would reading about obedience to the Bible. And that's what we were supposed to. We were supposed to, we're supposed to obey the rules, and the Bible says, obey thy master. So that's how Christianity got introduced. I'm going to read something, and this is taken from a Huffington Post 2015 article, and I can put it in the links after. And it basically says, God over everything, Black spirituality, and the paradox of religion. So, Christianity was a religious institution of governance forcefully imparted upon Black people as a means to mentally indoctrinate the race to a point of assimilation. The origin and practice of Christianity in America, and they're specifically talking America, but this also applies to the Caribbean, Canada, and everywhere, because they shipped us everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
So again, the origin and practice of Christianity in America has deep ties to racism, classism, and other prominent ideologies of oppression. Enslaved Africans were not expected to be smart enough or capable enough to take the Bible and create their own sense of spirituality from it. Understanding the rich and complex history of religion in America, the concept of God in Christianity often gets lost in translation. And we talk about translation a lot when it comes to the Bible, because the Bible can be interpreted in many different ways.
I agree with that.
And you were talking about when you were studying, so talk briefly about you said when you were studying and they were talking about the King James Version and so forth.
So just a quick history. So I grew up in a Christian home, Telly and myself, and we had been through the Sunday schools, the Bible classes. We spent a few years in Christian school. So during that time, I had learned a lot about, the new King James Version Bible versus the original King James Version Bible. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the King James Version Bible, there's a reason why it's called that, first of all. It was sanctioned and approved by King James. And the Bible was originally written in Hebrew, as makes sense. And it was then translated and given to the king for his approval. And I'm sure that even now you can imagine. I set up this scenario for you all so you can see it. Don't lie. I know you can see it. Do you know how many times King James has probably went back and said, revise it.
Oh, I could
revise
imagine.
it. Revise it.
I could imagine.
I believe, and what we've even learned is that the Bible had been revised many a times and translated in such a different way that we don't actually know if our King James Version is actually as God intended the Bible to be. So because of that, because it's so open to interpretation, it's very hard for, even for me, myself, to say, well, that verse means this, and this is all it can possibly mean. There is no way to really know that, you know, what you read is as easy as, you know, it's not just black and white.
It isn't.
I think there's a lot of gray.
It isn't. And so I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about the slave Bible. I'm going to read some information because there is a museum. If you're a religious person, you're interested, there's a museum of Bible in Washington, D.C. We can also put the links to that with the address if you're interested. But I'm going to read a little bit about what they talk about the slave Bible. So the slave Bible, and this is actually what it was called, it's called the slave Bible, is a Bible specifically edited for slaves. Its actual title was Parts of the Holy Bible Selected for the Use of the Negro Slaves. In the British, this was the full title, and this was in the British West India
that was the
Islands.
Title.
Yes,
I'm not over the title
so
yet.
then we're gonna go back to the title.
I'm still on the title
of this Bible. It was
like
parts
of the Holy Bible
selected for the use of the Negro slaves.
Okay.
So this was the slave Bible.
Wow.
The slave Bible was produced.
Tell me how you really feel.
Thank you. It was produced in England in the early 19th centuries for the use in the British West Indies when they were the colonies of the British empires. Such Bibles had all references to freedom and escape from slavery excised. So it was gone. They took out anything that had to do about freedom, because of course if you're supposed to be free, I can't enslave you.
Exactly.
But what they did keep is passages that encourage obedience and submission. Because again, if you are enslaving people and you're this Bible, this thing that you're saying is going to take them to the heavens or whatever they were being told, and it says that they're not supposed to be enslaved, they're going to be like, hold on, so why are you enslaving me? So they took everything out that had any reference to that. And that's the actual version of the Bible that they gave to the slaves. So when the slaves were reading this, they were like, oh, I'm supposed to obey my master.
They're going by what the Bible says.
So they're doing what the Bible says, right? And if you want to get to the other side of salvation, we are being taught obedience, and we're going to talk about this later, but we're taught obedience to the word and obedience to Jesus and obedience. So if you are being read something that says, oh, one shall obey, I want to get to the other side. I want to get to this freedom, so I'm going to obey. So this, guys, seriously, is how Christianity was introduced to us. So I'm going to read just something quickly and we're going to get back. But so the Museum of Bible, I don't know if they still have the exhibit. I didn't delve into it. But 2 years ago in 2018, they actually did it called The Slave Bible, Let the Story Be Told. And it exhibited an example from 1807, again, about the Holy Bible. And what they did was they realized that they had removed 90% of the Old Testament.
Come on now.
And half of the New Testament.
Guys.
So again, the Bible was like this thick.
90% of the Old Testament and half of the New Testament had been removed. And that's
as big as a cell phone.
So and that's what was given to the slave. Yeah.
So basically, like Genesis, and then maybe
Genesis, parts of Genesis,
Matthew,
the Psalms.
Okay, so they kept so they talk about they kept like Ephesians 6:5, which says, "Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ." That was
that. Of course, you have to fear your master. So you're not going to go anywhere for fear of your life.
So this is how Christianity got introduced to us as blacks in the world. And I know that it says specifically America, but at the end of the day, when they dropped us, because my people got dropped to Jamaica and they dropped people in Trinidad, and they dropped people in Nova Scotia, and they just dropped us off. But again, we were all in one place at one point, and they said, "Here's this lovely piece of thing, and you're going to be saved, and you're going to be better, and you need to do this." And
Right.
that's how Christianity. Now, what's great about the resilience of us as a people is we have taken religion and turned it into something that's amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
We
Yeah,
have.
I would
There is
agree.
nothing better than a praise and worship
I'm telling
service
you.
on
Yo.
a Sunday morning in a or Saturday if you're a 7-day Adventist, because my daughter is 7-day Adventist. Christian 7-day Adventist. We're gonna get into that. That's another story altogether.
Oh, girl.
However, there's nothing for me better than a praise and worship when I'm
Amen.
going to
That's
church. And I'm telling my brother, we gotta go because I want to get to the praise and worship. It is amazing. The praise and worship is like the medicine, and you go and you feel great.
Yes.
And it's amazing. Like, I love a praise and worship. And when you get a good preacher, there's a lot that can be said, when they're really filled with the Holy Spirit. Now, on the flip side of that, some of the issues that we're having in the community is, and you were talking about it, is taking the Bible scripture literally and saying, this is the way that one shall be Christian and be saved.
Yeah. So this one, and this is a very personal topic for us because, obviously, we're out here, very open to say, I'm Christian. I've grown up Christian. I have a high respect for God. And I worship God. In my belief, I believe that, Jesus Christ is Lord. And I'm very conflicted because as much as I do believe, the word of God, there is a part of me that has somewhat of an issue sometimes with the people that are within the church, people that represent the church.
Yeah.
When I say that, I mean in the way where you have scriptures that are in the Bible, and people will take these scriptures, they'll look at a scripture and take it so literal that they use it to put people down,
Absolutely.
to judge them,
Absolutely.
to make them think, you love high heel shoes, that's your idol, you're worshiping your clothes, and you are not being a good Christian.
That's not adorn ourselves with jewels.
Yeah.
That watch is not allowed.
Right, exactly. Rings, bracelets, these are all wrong. Because you're looking at the Bible and you're taking things literally, and then you're using those words to make other people feel less than. And I think that, to me, that's a man-made thing. I do not think that is why, these words were there. Those words were there for a certain person at a certain time.
Right.
The Bible is a story. Like, things are happening in there for a specific reason. And just because it's written doesn't mean that it applies to everybody now and thousands of years into the future.
That's why they call, the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Right.
It's split in sections for a reason.
Yes.
But going back to what you said, unfortunately, because we've been in church since the day we were born, humans give God a bad name.
Yeah.
And with some churches, by the time they're done with some people, just observing it, you're just kind of like, oh my, like, come on. Like, they tell you to be Christ-like, which is very A, B, C, D. It's very simple. So, Jesus is not going to go to Sister Christine and say, Sister Christine and say, well, you're this and you're that, and like disgrace this poor woman or man in the front of the entire church. That's not what God's going to do.
Right.
But I've seen this happen, and it's just kind of like, okay, really? Like, we're going to bring this woman, like you were saying, people using scriptures to bring people down. And that person, you have no idea what brought them to church in the first place.
Yeah.
What if they woke up that morning and they're like, oh my God, I just want to kill myself. But you know what? A friend of mine told me about this place. I want to go and see. Maybe they can help my mood. Maybe they can lift me out of my sorrows.
Yeah.
You go now, and you're having a good time at first, and then for only God knows, the pastor or whoever's up there just uses you as a target.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Humans give God a bad name. And it's like, yo, I love Jesus. I am a stern-ass Christian, but I'm also a Christian rebel. Hence the word I said stern-ass. Yeah. But at the same time...
We have a nickname.
We do. Gospel Rebels.
I love
where
it.
It's like, we love Jesus. Oh, but let me just
dance
to that beat one time. It's a struggle, but everyone's struggling in life.
Everybody's struggling. No one is perfect.
No one is perfect. And Jesus knows that.
And he does.
And that's why
does.
I just feel really dry when I see like people pull it, oh, your skirt's too short, your lips too red, your hair's too big, you're this too that, and it's like, this is not what God.
Yeah, and
no,
I think we're just
not.
I think sometimes
like
people just tend to focus on the wrong things.
They do, like, focus on God. Why are you focusing on people's outfits?
You can be a good person, and you can do good things in the world in a miniskirt, or with
if you like miniskirts, then that's you.
Or wearing whatever lipstick, or you know what I mean.
Right. I don't know.
But here's the thing. No, and I'm gonna read another again because I like to read things. I'm gonna read something else, and it goes to like God uses all of us in different ways, and no one in the Bible was really that perfect.
No.
God wasn't using perfect people to spread his message. Like, let's be clear. And I'm going to read something again. I love Huffington Post.
Drop me some knowledge.
This is from a 2011 article called 4 Good Reasons Not to Read the Bible Literally, right? And this was reason number 4. Mm-hmm. Read the Bible even for a little while, and you'll soon realize that most of the major characters are, shall we say, less than ideal. Abraham passes his wife off as his sister twice in order to save his own skin. Moses is a murderer. David sleeps around. Peter denies Jesus 3 times. Whatever their accomplishments, most of the heroes of the faith are complicated persons with feet of clay. And that's the point.
That's the point.
The God of the Bible regularly uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things.
Exactly.
So let me tell you something. Sister so-and-so in the back of the church who was whispering
Sister
said
Pearl.
that the girl over there so did I do this and the girl who's doing praise and worship is doing that. Stop it!
Stop it. Even Jesus Christ himself, Jesus came as he was a carpenter.
Yeah.
He could have been like a king or like he came as a carpenter.
I mean Jesus came as the most.
He came as the anti-hero because no one will want to follow a poor carpenter.
Yeah.
The man fed a multitude. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Man.
No one is perfect, and no one really has the right to judge another. And I think
who are we to judge anybody?
Yeah, and I think the best way to show and to help a Christian, a fellow Christian, is to be a Christian and show love.
That's it.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the way. From what I recall from the Bible, I never recall a time where Jesus was like, "Oh, you are a horrible person," and I'm
never heard
you
Jesus.
right now.
I never read that.
I mean, he was even, he was a bit stern, of course, when someone did something wrong. But he took those wrongs and turned it around and still made them great. Like David, you mentioned, and Moses. They were game changers. And we very often forget that
we do.
It's common people that have made
the apostles that followed Jesus in the New Testament. None of them were. All 12 are not perfect.
I mean, even Judas.
But Judas. Well, he was. You don't
was
Judas.
Yeah, and and Jesus.
Jesus
knew
still
very well what
and
he was
still
do,
wanted him to follow.
He was still like there eating with Jesus and everything, and it's just funny that we say we're following Christ, but we're actually not doing anything.
We're not really doing what he wants us to do.
Because here's the thing, I'm gonna bring Mary Magdalene into 2020. Jesus didn't go to Mary Magdalene. Sorry, whore, go back on the pole.
No. He did not.
I'm sorry.
That.
Call it what it is.
Though. Yeah.
Because realistically,
she
was a prostitute.
Yeah, she was.
Read the story of Mary Magdalene. She was a
prostitute.
I mean, she was.
Prostitution is actually the oldest,
first job
profession
ever created.
Was being a prostitute.
Yeah,
first job.
And again, bring it back to 2020. If Mary Magdalene was there and confessing her sins to Jesus, sitting there as the pastor of such and such church, she wouldn't expect to hear, "Sorry, whore, go back on the pole." That's not what she's here to hear. But often, and it sounds terrible, I know, people are like, "Oh my God, that's terrible. She said that." But that's the reality. Is that's how some people feel. I am of the concept that I've always been taught: you go to the church and come as you are. Mm-hmm. You bring your sick, your old, you're good. There's this saying that goes over. You're supposed to be able to come
as you are,
and come as you are, and be able to hear the word and get something from the word. And I know that I've been in certain churches where I'm like, never again.
Oh, girl, absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you one such story.
Absolutely.
I christened my daughter. I'm not even going to name the name of the church, but
You can tell me
I'm going to tell you after. So my daughter's father and a very close family friend, he's a brother to me, my daughter's godfather. They all attended this particular church. And I'm christening my daughter there. Now, it was the first time I was going to the church because, I couldn't have gone to the church pregnant because that was not a thing. They weren't going to accept me had I come into the church and I was pregnant because me and the father were not married. So we go in and I'm there to christen my baby. She's 3 months old. I, put the oil, put her in water, like, let me sit down. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, dear.
The man was up there christening my baby, talking about the earrings that I had in my ears. The fact that me and the father were not married. God. And, he expects that, the next time we are here, he should be announcing.
The next time.
Listen, I think at one point I stopped listening. Like, I was no longer listening because I'm like, where's the oil? Put it on my baby so I can just
get
sit
this day
down.
done and over with.
I want to christen her. I'm bringing my baby to the Lord. I'm bringing my baby to you so she can have an abundance in the Lord, right? This is not about me and him and my earrings and whatever else, what have I adorned my skin in, and the fact that we weren't married. God. I was 22 years old. I wasn't trying to be married. Like, all of these things were happening. And honestly, subsequently after this, Trey's godfather's family left the church. They left that particular church and went to another church. Because they felt,
he was so embarrassed.
If he's ever listening,
he was been totally embarrassed.
It was very much like,
it's like degrading.
Why would they have done that to you? You brought your baby to come, and the conversation was about. So I would never go to that church again.
Sadly,
it was a church that I was like, I would never, and it led people that cared about me, that were close, that had spent years in that church. The entire family left. Mother, father, brother, sister, kids. They said no, and they found, and I never thanked that. Maybe I have thanked them, but thank you, because they supported me so much that they thought, you came here, and basically I was degraded in front of the entire congregation that I had never been to before, because I adorned myself with this. So they basically told me I was a whore because I had had sex out of wedlock, and I better marry this man, and that how dare I again adorn myself, because I had earrings and I adorned myself with ear, because my daughter was getting Christian. I want to look good.
Yeah.
So
it's not a
that's what I went going to that church for the first time.
And that's what I mean.
It's a common thing.
Using the word as a weapon to make people feel bad, and thinking that, all of a sudden it is my business because I have the word. And it's like, the Bible is not meant for weaponizing. You're not supposed to weaponize.
Did Jesus say to you, criticize the woman's earrings and call her basically a big old hoe? Jesus didn't say that to you.
Sure
You're there to bless a baby. And how does he care about your personal life?
Saying. It's not his business.
Just bless the baby and give the poor child back to her mother.
The Bible is not to be weaponized. In my opinion, I don't feel it should be weaponized. And people should do what they want to do. If you want to adorn yourself in a certain way, that's your business.
It's your business.
It's not
that's
my
between
business.
It's between you and your God.
It's between you and your God.
The way how I adore myself, my business, my life is between me and the Lord.
It's a personal relationship.
He can chastise me, but I don't expect anyone else to chastise me.
It's a personal
relationship. That brings us back to the question that I ask is there just one way to be Christian? Is there one way to be religious? Because for some people, they would say, this is the only way. One must, I'm showing a little too much right now because everything should be buttoned up here, and it should have on the long skirt. And this is the way that, I have to open this back up. This is the way that one is Christian. And is there only one way to be a Christian?
I think it's to each their own. That's what I say. Because my way of salvation is different from Samantha's way or Bobby's way. So for me, because I'm coming from a place where I was born in the church, like Carcia. So in our faith, it's you're baptized, you're filled with the Holy Ghost, you go to church as often as you can, and you just live the life. You live a life as best as you can. Mm-hmm. That's how we were raised. Who am I though to go to Samantha, and she worships differently. Her schedule of God is different from my schedule. I'm not going to chastise her because that's her way. Who am I to go now and say, well, Samantha, you're wrong. You got to do it like this. A, B, C, D, E. I can't do that. That's my opinion. Don't come after me, Bible people. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, and this is why I keep on saying in my opinion, because
It's an opinionative
there are
discussion.
people that I know from my church that would say, Carcia, how could you say that? That's not... Because there are a lot of people unfortunately, in church that are closed-minded. And they do see Christianity in
as
a
a
box like this. I don't see Christianity in a box like that. So I choose to worship the way I do because it suits me. Mm-hmm. I like the praise and worship in the morning.
Love it.
I like the minister preaching a good word.
Absolutely.
I like the whole community sense and the idea of church, going to church Sunday morning. I like that.
So do I.
It works
Love
for
it.
me. That's
Makes me
fine.
feel good.
And that's good. But for someone else, they might worship differently. And they might serve a different God. And they've grown up in a different culture. Some people have grown up in different churches, in different temples. You know, they might be Rastafarian, they might be Catholic, they might be Buddhist, whatever, you know, Muslim. There are so many religions in the world. And I don't think it is my responsibility, no offense, nor do I care, to go and tell people, this is how you...
Exactly. You're not a gangsta going around shooting whoever isn't going the way you're going.
No one forced me to worship the way I worship. I choose to worship the way I worship. And I feel that, you know, whatever you wish on yourself, you should wish upon others. And, you know, if you choose to follow a different way, then you follow a different way. If you choose to do what I do, then that's great. I'll see you at church Sunday. But, like, I would never say there is one way, because what do I really know?
What do I know? I'm not God.
You know?
Exactly.
I'm
not God. And there are people who are walking in men. They're men walking as if they're God. And to me, you know, the church, you know, religion, Christianity, and we're going to talk about later on, you know, being religious versus being spiritual, which I consider myself spiritual more than I consider myself religious. And the reason I don't consider myself religious is because, my opinion, you know, like it or not, religion is an institution.
It's a man-made thing. That's why
it's
an
actual institution. Church is an institution. So being religious, and I actually have the actual definitions, I can go there. Religious, relating to believing in a religion. Religion is an institution. That's literally the definition of religion. Yeah. So I consider myself spiritual, and I see the church as a place of refuge.
Yeah.
I see the church as a place where everyone should go to. I see the church as... No one should be hungry in church, right? Pastor so-and-so shouldn't have a private plane, but sister so-and-so is going to the food bank.
Practically can't make her rent. Because remember when, I think it was Texas, they had like a hurricane, and the
church wouldn't let the people in
I will say it was Joel Osteen's
church, and he won't let the people in.
He's very rich.
And it's kind of
rich.
And the thing is, like you were saying, you know, the church is a lighthouse. It's a hospital.
It should be.
Are you going to deny people for going into the hospital?
Yeah.
Really?
And that's why I said that for me, like you said, Toshiba, I consider myself a spiritual person. And I don't identify God with church culture. And I know that sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Like, God
is everywhere. God's right here under this roof right now.
I don't necessarily...
of course God is here.
I'm not necessarily at church every Sunday
here,
either, right?
Jesus knows what's up.
I'm not at church every Sunday, you know, because, you know, girls got a life. I got things to do. However... I am walking into the supermarket.
Jesus is there.
Carcia is still into Jesus.
Well, that's it.
Carcia jumps
that's a good point you brought up. You as being spiritual, so you can only be spiritual when you're at church. You can't be spiritual anywhere else.
That's why, like,
you gotta check your religion your salvation. You gotta check something.
Well, for what we believe, it's like, you don't necessarily need to be a Christian in the following ways. There's no workbook.
There's
that's
no
like,
step-by-step guide to be a
1,
good
2, 3,
Christian.
4,
Here's
5.
steps 1
There's no
through
book.
10, and if you miss any of those, you're not a good
Failed.
Christian. And often that is what some churches, and let's be serious, it's all
Right,
churches.
that's it. Not
I know
all
we all
churches.
attend a good church. I just started recently going to a great church, and the pastor speaks the word, and he's walking in faith, and I walk out of there, and I'm just like, oh my God, I feel great. Like, I am in there, I'm taking notes, it's great. But I've also been in other church where I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
this is, so, it's 12:45. If this man doesn't shut up by 12:50, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I can't. I don't
you've been
understand what's
to
happening.
a lot of
I
services
remember.
where it goes on for 3-4 hours, and you're just like,
Yeah, I even remember. I remember one time. I was saying to my dad, I was chatting with my father, and I was like,
Dad on
Dad,
the floor, and it's like, wow,
I'm
so this is what it feels like to die.
I was like, Dad, I'm thinking about
Just
going,
saying.
visiting this church to see what it's like. And my dad, my father, who is, an old guy,
He
old
gives us a
Jamaican
warning.
Christian, he was like, oh, Carcia, you won't want to go there because they're not into the wigs, they're not into the fingernails, they're not into the jewelry. He's like, you won't be comfortable there. And the idea that even my father knows that, look, this church, some of these churches is whack. Okay, my older Jamaican father knows that. So we're definitely living in a society where there are some places where, in the same way that you wear clothes to fit you,
Right.
you have to find
A church
that fits you.
And you would
That's a
think
good
that
point.
that's not even something that should be possible. Like, you would think, again, because I see a church as a place of refuge. It is where I go.
Yeah,
it is where I feel great. And if I, I've had years that I
That's
go
what
to
it
church
should
a
be.
couple times a year. I've had years that I go to church every single week. Like,
Mhm.
I don't miss it. But my walk, when I go into the church and I walk in, I shouldn't expect people to try to, are they going to sprinkle some holy water on me
Oh,
because they think
Jesus.
I'm a heathen? Like, and there's some church where you're just like, oh, I need to, like, I don't want to do that because I'm not going for man. I'm going for the Lord.
Thank you.
I'm not going for sister so and so and
going
deacon
for
and
you.
bishop
You're going
this
for
person.
your relationship with Jesus.
Listen, I walk in the church
Exactly.
like
I mean,
nobody's
that's
business.
it.
We've
That
got
is it.
to look at the reality of life. I mean, a lot of us, you spend your week pretending and you're stressed out.
Girl,
You're like,
that's a message right
I just need a dose of Jesus right now.
You need something to bring you
And
back
then-
to center.
Yeah, and then you go to church
a
and
rough
it's like,
week.
okay, now I'm going to pretend again. I can't be myself. And if God made you a certain way, then why should you be subjected to oppression even in worship?
Isn't that a shame? Where you can, no matter where you go,
that's
you
not
know,
okay.
Your relationship with the Lord.
That's not okay.
It's like, I'm not saying this is not a relationship platform, but just to use like a boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing. Your lover, you should be comfortable.
Absolutely.
You should feel relaxed. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be pretending. So it's really sad when you go to a place of refuge, aka the church, and you still have to put on a facade.
Yeah.
You still gotta wear a mask,
It's-
so you can't even be your real self now. You can't even do that in the church.
And because for some people,
Man.
that's all they have is the church. They feel they don't have any other place.
Right.
The church. And then that brings me to the other question that we were talking about is this idea of religion requiring sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
That for me to be truly religious, it means I must sacrifice. So, really?
Isn't the sacrifice just getting up in the morning and going?
And being black.
And being black.
And also, I have to say, sacrifice, see, again, I don't agree with that because the Bible, from what I can remember, I am no evangelist or preacher, so forgive me, but God is only seeking our worship. Like, literally.
That part.
Our worship. That's all he literally asks for.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Worship.
What?
Worship. So, meaning
Worship?
meaning the way how you live your life, the way how you choose to worship. That is what God is looking for. Like, God doesn't need he doesn't need us per se, right? He created us, he loves us, and all he wants is the love back. I don't think he's saying, now you need to go sacrifice. Again, I think that's taken literally because of Abraham.
Well, that's the thing. If you go in the Old Testament,
in the Old Testament,
going to sacrifice a goat, like
in the Old Testament, that applied to that
BC,
time
before Christ.
When it was, if I were to go out now and steal someone's lamb and sacrifice it, they would arrest me.
No, because that's against the law. The Old Testament is books under the law. Let's get that right. The New Testament is grace. Let's remember it. So you can't steal no one's goat. Unless you want to make goat foot, like some kind of goat curry goat, goat soup,
But I think often there is this feeling that you have to sacrifice. You have to. There's all this sacrifice, and this is turning a lot of people away from Christianity and religion.
Right.
It's this. If I'm unable to be who I am in Christ, because the idea is we are all created in God's image. Right? So I would think me walking into church in God's image, that I would just be accepted, but I am not sacrificing, apparently. And so now I'm like, why do I want to be in a place of refuge where I'm supposed to feel safe if all I'm going to be is criticized and looked down upon and all of those things? And also, why am I in church and I'm hungry again? I'm going to go back to that because I have a real, I'm going to say something. I have a real big issue with anyone in a congregation who is suffering and the pastor is affluence. He's very affluent. He comes up and he's got on his, he or she, because clearly there's female pastors, but they go up and they're affluent and they look well and they're adorned themselves and they look great and they go out and they drive their expensive cars. But sister so-and-so is suffering and should have on food stamps and everything else. I have a real issue with that. Because I'm a person who believes that if this is a place where we should all be striving and thriving and doing great things.
It's supposed to be community.
And if I tell you as the deacon that sister such and such was at the food bank and she's in need of help, I'm immediately thinking that you guys are going to collectively come together and try to help sister so-and-so. And is it because she needs a job? Does she need job training? What does she need to make her better? So flying off in your private plane, Joel Osteen, and all of these other pastors which I'm not going to call out.
Even Crypto Dollar, once he complained that he didn't have a jet.
No, he complained that his jet wasn't new enough.
Right, it wasn't new enough.
Okay,
he needed a modern model. So this is what I'm going to say about this, because this has always kind of gotten to me in a way as well. When I'm at a church, I like to see what they are doing other than holding Sunday services.
And taking my tithing.
Right.
I got a thing about...
What do you do
the dry part is, speaking of tenth, is when not only do they ask for your tenth, but they also, some churches want your first...
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Your first...
That's probably even a different show. But,
first...
my thing with this entire section of church is like, I am a person that believes a church should be doing more than just holding services, like say Sunday morning service and doing whatever. I do believe that the church should be a place where they have programs for youth to learn how to use a computer, or homework open
helping
hours.
The community, bringing people
together.
Don't
have a printer? You can use our printer.
That's good.
You need the internet.
Right.
You don't have it. You can come. You make the church a place within the community that helps the community. If a woman is in need of diapers for her child, diapers are expensive. They can go to the church and say, do you have a diaper program or something?
Absolutely.
And the church can say, yes, here you go. Here are some diapers. Here's some food. We have a bank of non-perishable foods that we can give you. Because that's also, I might be getting a bit too deep now, but this is also a way of evangelism.
It is.
And a way for the church to show, this is what Jesus would have did if he was here.
Some churches...
Because that's what Jesus was doing.
Yeah.
He was giving people bread and fish.
And talking to them, and, Jesus basically a shrink to these people.
Yeah, not just holding services.
Some churches even have, library systems.
Yeah.
Where you can go in and, rent a book or even stay there if you want and read the book and after-school programs. So that's actually
soup kitchens.
Yeah, exactly.
After service,
After service,
everybody can
yeah,
go get
and
lunch,
lunch.
cup of soup,
for
a
free.
patty, or something.
And yeah, so in my mind, if a church isn't kind of doing those things,
Kind of makes you
I
question.
start to question.
I agree.
Because then you get to the question of, what is happening with my tenth that I give in tithing? Are you using it to give back to the community? Are you using it to pay the bills for the church so the lights can stay on so people can come in and find refuge? Or are we using this money so you can get
drive a Mercedes-Benz.
a brand new
2020.
Mercedes-Benz, even though you have one from 2018, but now you wanted 2020.
They want a Rolls Royce now.
And that's my issue with
I
that.
agree. Now, one of the things, and I'm cognizant of the time, we've got about 15, 20 minutes, we still got a few things to cover, is we're also going to say, I agree with that, and I think the church should be doing more. But also as believers, dwelling in faith, we're going to go back to what we said earlier. God helps those who help themselves.
That's it.
So if all you're
Amen.
doing is this and saying, Dear Heavenly Father, please bless me with an abundance of wealth, and I want food, and I want do this, and then you get back up from your knees,
And go
And
back
you
and
sit
sit down.
back in the
and
same
you go
spot,
back and sit down.
and you're waiting on God to just drop a car or a house right on you, because you think that's how God works.
It will happen.
You might want to hold your breath too while you're waiting.
Yeah, so I am a full-on believer.
Look, yo,
in-
get off your backside and go.
I believe
Put
in
action
work.
into it.
I believe in hard
Gotta
work.
work.
I believe in getting up. So there's a story that
Our show alone is
That-
out of faith.
I mean,
like, we
yeah.
got up and we did
so
this.
I don't know how many people.
Come on, yo.
I don't know how many people know the story of the lepers. So in the Bible, there were a bunch of lepers. They had leprosy,
leprosy.
and they were
hungry.
cast out from their city because they had this disease.
Mm-hmm.
So they were sitting there, and they're like, "Man, I'm hungry. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna die." And one of them said,
Hell no.
"Let's get up and find food. We can't just sit here. We need to get up and do something." They had no idea where they were going, but they were led to an area where there were a bunch of tents and people were living. Funny enough, while they were there
Trying to find a way
figure
to
out
get into
something,
this tent.
God made it that the people that were in this city, they all were frightened
By something.
By something. God
Created some kind of illusion.
Created some sort of illusion where they saw a monster or there was a hurricane, something like that. And the people took off and just left everything. So by the time the lepers showed up, they're like, "Oh, here's an entire city
Full of food.
full of food." So they could eat and revive themselves and eventually, be healed. But the thing is, that wasn't going to happen
But they didn't
unless
work.
they moved. They didn't just sit there waiting.
Waiting and praying. Oh,
No.
God, why aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you helping me, Lord? I've been talking to you for 5 hours straight.
Yeah. I mean,
help me, Lord, help me. It's like,
Yeah.
why don't you help the Lord by getting up and show him how much you want
you
it?
need to show work, because I feel that your life is somewhat of a collaboration of you and God.
Yes.
like,
Oh, yeah.
Working together. So when God
a tag
sees you
team.
putting in the work, He's like, she
some
really
blessings
wants
on
that.
you.
He really wants that. I'm
gonna
gonna
bless
make
this
a way
chick.
for
I'm gonna
him.
bless this dude.
And then
Remember 50 Cent, get rich or die trying?
Like, you really, there's no Red
Try.
Sea that's gonna
No.
pop just because you went in your prayer closet for 5 hours
Girl.
and asked Lord for these things. You actually, like you said, faith
Faith
is
is
an
an
action
action
word.
word.
One must do.
Yeah.
So
Get up
pray
and do
is
something.
great.
Pray.
I pray. I meditate. I do all of these
It's
things.
important.
I tithe sometimes.
That's
sometimes
no
it's hard
that's
in
no
the
one's
streets.
business.
But
Nobody's
we
business.
do these things, but again, God will help those that help himself. And
That's
some of
it.
the issues, and we'll even talk more about it in our show next week, about this idea that prayer alone is enough. But I prayed.
Guys, let me tell you something right now.
So people think just because you pray just like
I'm
that.
gonna tell you
But I prayed.
from my experience.
I prayed.
If we were to go back to the first show where we were talking
Future
about
me's.
the future me's and getting to this point,
Mm-hmm.
and if we were to go back to like episode 2 or whatever where we were talking about mental health,
Mm-hmm.
I was a full-on Christian when I was depressed and wanting to kill myself.
You're a functioning.
On your knee, praying at the altar.
I was praying at the altar, everybody, but the feeling was still there.
I'm still there.
And I was trying to get my way out of it just through spirituality alone. But things did not change until I told my
got
general
up.
practitioner
That
that I needed
Help.
to speak to someone. I needed to speak to a professional. And that is when I really saw God working through the therapist and myself, and I was able to get treatment and be good to myself and be where I am now.
That's it.
I know many, and this is a dark topic, churches don't talk about it, but there are many Christians that have hurt themselves.
Absolutely.
Oh God.
And
yeah,
they were going to
absolutely.
church every Sunday. They were praying.
They're cutters.
They were, yeah, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they did everything right. There was a very big story way back in the day when I was a child where a woman jumped over a bridge.
Yep, I remember
And she
that.
went to a church that we knew of.
Yep.
Very spiritual church and very, lit up in Jesus, if you want
Yeah,
to
but
use that term.
the thing is, this woman was suffering.
But she was suffering enough to do that. So, I believe that prayer is like a bit of the water that goes on the seed.
That's it.
It helps the growth, but you also need to get some plant food.
That's
you
it.
also need sunlight.
That's it.
Plants don't grow off water alone.
That's alone.
right?
In a dark room.
Right, like
Because you're praying.
there are other
Okay.
elements that make plants grow. So for us to think that, well, I'm just gonna pray and then God's gonna do all the work, I don't think.
Y'all better think again.
I don't
That's
think
that's not a thing.
I
That's
don't
not
think
a
that's
And we
thing.
need to stop spreading that in our community. Like,
Yes.
if you have a problem, just go to God. God will answer it. If you're not of money, go to
Yeah.
God.
One
There's
time
problems in your
I
marriage,
prayed,
go to God.
right? I remember one time I prayed for money, and this is actually
Oh, jeez.
now, mind you, it wasn't a lot of money, but I did. I was like, Jesus, get some money. And seriously, I got up and I threw on my jacket and I found $10 in my
Okay, but get up. So, but you got up though. You got
Real
up.
talk.
That's
I was
work.
like praying, I had needed money, and
Yeah,
God,
you did some work still.
It was time to put on the right coat. I
You
guess.
put on the right jacket in the
And
back.
God just
Now,
had
what
my
if
pocket.
you could have put that jacket in the laundry and lost that
Girl,
$10, girl?
true.
So,
I mean, true story.
so the whole thing
That's a bad
is,
example, because that's just.
And that's by fluke. So she could have said,
True.
"Oh, it
True.
happened. I got my $10. All I need to do is go down my hands and knees and pray." Because that's not the reality.
Exactly. Because
We need to stop thinking
That's
that
it.
all we need to do, we need to stop telling kids and family members.
True.
But if you just pray, there's problems in my marriage, well, pray
Just
on
pray.
it, girl. I'm not doing good at my job. Pray on it, girl. My bank account doesn't look so good. Pray on it, girl. Such and such is being abused in our family. Pray on it, girl. We're going to talk about that next week. Like, that is not going to help.
It's
Just
not gonna help,
praying
guys.
on it. Stop
Stop.
thinking that. Please continue to pray. 'cause
Pray.
I'm pray.
Pray
But
is
stop
important, but
thinking
that's not
that
the
prayer
only
alone
thing.
is going to be the answer
Yeah.
to all of your
yeah,
questions.
because what I hate about that whole entire idea that just pray and it's gonna work out
Pray,
is that
girl.
when you pray and then nothing works out, the first person you blame is God.
God.
And it's like, wait a minute,
Why are you blaming
what
the
did
Lord
you, what
now?
did you give God
What
to
do you
work
got to
with?
work with?
Nothing.
It's like, well, Lord, I've been praying to you for 4 hours straight,
Like,
and I still haven't gotten my money yet. And
Right? It's like, okay, I am praying, Lord,
Yo.
that you help me to get a mansion.
Whew, yes, girl.
Okay, that's great. So what?
What are you doing?
Someone's just gonna give you keys to a mansion? As soon as
Ding dong. Oh, I heard that you made. I heard your prayer, girl.
Yeah.
God put it
God
in me to give you the keys for
Yeah.
these mansions.
Right.
No.
So that's
Come
not
on
gonna
now.
happen. But what will happen is you get up and you're like, I need a mansion. So I've got to start saving my money and seeing how I can get some other streams of income.
That's it.
To make
Other
some money
ways
and
to
start
create some
saving,
income.
invest some of my money.
That's it.
You start doing stuff and God starts revealing these new ideas
Absolutely.
and things to you.
That's
And
That's
teaching
it.
you about financing, and you're
Yes.
like, oh Lord, wow, okay, now I know how to do this.
He builds you a great
here's a
clientele.
financial advisor.
There you
Yeah.
go. Next thing you
You
know, boom, 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 right on
And
path.
give yourself
you got your
to the
mansion.
path. Whatever, there you go. You're living like Drake.
Hi,
Okay,
Drake.
starting from the bottom now.
Oh yeah. Starting from the bottom now.
Okay. So wait, that was not religious.
Guys,
So we go.
That is
Oh,
not a gospel song. You'll
But
land,
it could be if you think about
from
starting from the bottom. And then the
Yolanda
Lord
Adams
helped you
ain't
out of
singing
the
that
bottom.
song.
Well, maybe Yolanda needs to spice it up a little.
Okay, I'm not even gonna start singing. That's not. I don't sing.
You need to start singing because I like your singing.
I think that's there's two other things that we want to briefly cover in the 10 minutes that we have left. Because I'm gonna stretch it to 105, or 405, 405. But there's one more thing that I think is, and you mentioned it briefly about different religions and so forth, and as Christians and Christianity, and in the religious world of Christianity, stop demonizing other people's religions.
Agree.
I would agree.
Don't bash. It's not. Come on. It's not needed. Why are you bashing it? If you don't understand it, then leave it alone.
Yeah, we have a way of demonizing things that we don't understand. But I believe, especially coming from the community that I come from, because other communities don't understand my community, the first thing they do is demonize us. Right?
Yep.
So because I know what that feels like, I am like, hey, you're a Buddhist.
Let me know, like, what is that about?
What is that
Ask
about?
a question. What do you believe in Buddhism?
Yeah.
What do you, as a Muslim, what is your faith? What do you believe in?
Yeah.
As whatever. People even practice Santeria.
Yeah.
All these different things. Because I don't know about it does not automatically make it evil.
bad.
Or make it demon and the dumpy and the thing. Because even in the Christian community, the fact that we all meditate, some people consider that that's obia.
Yeah.
And there's more than enough scriptures, especially
that talk about
in
meditation.
the Psalms.
About meditating
in the
daily.
Psalms, King David meditated day and night. So he's a demon now?
And that's the thing, like
come on, man.
we look at other things that we don't understand and we say, well, that's evil.
Just because you don't understand it, all of a sudden it's wrong.
Voodoo is evil, and I'm like, well, that's because we only see what's in movies,
and
we see like
the doll and kittens and all
like
that. I'm like,
churches, and they're dancing around wearing all white, and people are like, well, that's evil. I'm like, but do we actually know what they're serving?
Like, what is it?
I don't know anything about it, so why would I say something evil about it when I don't understand it?
But that's also not being Christ-like.
No, it's not.
Because Jesus wouldn't do that.
Right? It's not being Christ-like to see someone else doing something, and because it doesn't resonate with you, or you just don't understand it.
Right.
There's a lot of things I don't understand, and what do? I ask questions.
Exactly.
I can form an opinion after getting the information.
Right.
But to demonize someone and say, well, them believing in this, so that means that they are this way. And and then again, the gossiping in church and this and that, the next thing, right? Like, we need to stop. Like, you don't need to exercise things out of people. There's no need to do that. Have a better understanding about what someone else believes and what someone else worships without automatically demonizing it. And I'm bringing it up because I've seen it so often that for me, I can understand why some people step away from Christianity. I completely get where there's this idea that there's a big break away from Christianity and people going and trying to go back to their African roots and finding out what are the things that we actually did do in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Like, people have this whole big thing with Beyonce when she came out as Oshun. Right? When she did the formation thing, she came out as Oshun. People are like, oh my God, she's a devil worshiper. Well, Oshun is the goddess of love. If I'm not mistaken, she's the goddess of love, right? That's what she was doing. She was bringing love. But people didn't understand it. They saw that she had adorned herself. And by the way, Beyonce looked beautiful. Hey, girl. But it was automatically because there was this, and I call it ignorance. Because when one does not know, it is ignorance, right? So they had demonized her instead of really taking research, digging down and finding, why did she do that? What was behind her adorning herself like that? And then you would have found out that it was the goddess of love. And that is what this was about. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Oshun is the goddess of love. So, I want to talk about, we need to stop demonizing other people's religion because we don't understand
I think that, again, religion, spirituality, whatever, how you want to look at it, it is highly, highly customized and personal to the person. So being a Rastafarian is not an evil thing.
No.
I know that within Jamaican culture, we have a tendency to demonize Rastafarianism. We look at it as, a bunch of lazy people that don't want to comb their hair and they live this way and they're lazy and they don't like to work. And
who's Haile Selassie, because we don't understand who Haile Selassie is.
We don't understand.
So
and they're confused.
They're
They're confused and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but what are they doing that's evil?
If they're not bugging me.
They're not bothering anybody.
Not bothering anybody.
They're eating a very good diet.
They're very healthy.
And they're making their hair grow to the beauty that it is.
I want those inches.
And they're walking in faith.
Yeah.
There is still faith
Yeah.
that is based in this religion. And again, walking in faith, we all need it. Again, if we go back to the beginning of show you we're not watching, Christianity came out of slavery.
Yes, it did.
Christianity was introduced to us from slavery. We needed something to hold on to once we left and realized that they had given us the slave Bible and was indoctrinating us with false prophet is actually what the slave Bible was doing. And so we took that and we turned it into something great, and now we're walking in faith. Well, if someone else has another religion, that's what they're doing. Faith grounds you.
It does.
Faith, I know for me, my faith grounds me. It
does.
grounds me. And when I'm going through the worst possible things in my life, I go, I'm going to get through this with hard work and faith. And my faith that this will get better.
That's it.
And so I'm not going to demonize someone else for their own faith. And so we need to stop it. Stop it.
Yes.
And if you see sister such and such in the church and talk about the people them, stop
Tell her in the name of Jesus, shut up.
Shut up. In the name of Jesus.
Shut up.
Stop, take your hard rock candy out of your
Exactly.
purse, put it in your mouth, and shut the hell up.
Listen to the word instead of sitting here criticizing sister so-and-so.
Okay,
Trash.
and who talks speech? Sleeping with
it's-
it's like, I don't want to hear it. It's none of my business. How did you hear about it, Sister Pearl?
I do believe that faith is a beautiful thing, and
It is.
Faith can ground you. Faith can give you that humility that sometimes we all need. And being educated, reading about other religions, understanding them, and being open to understanding them, that's what is going to save us all, is the idea that we know how we want to worship and we yet understand, hey, this person, that's what they do and it works for them.
Absolutely.
And
That's
just
it.
leave it alone, because we
Leave
ain't
it
God.
alone.
We don't
Thank
know.
you. We don't know.
Listen, do you have anything else, Bird, to do with your time?
So that brings us to the last thing we're going to talk about was, religion and spirituality. And I found this amazing explanation that I'm calling it an explanation in poetry. And the idea of what is spirituality and what is religion. And like I said before, religion is an institution, right? And the actual definition, and I'm going to go straight into before I read this poetry, taken from Oxford Dictionary. Religious, relating to or believing in a religion. That's what being religious means. Spirituality, on the other hand, is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. So there's this great, again, thing that I found, and I'm calling it The Difference Explained in Poetry, and it was taken from something called Live and Dare, a website. Again, I can share it. But this is basically what it said, and excuse me because I'm scrolling through my computer. But religion asks you to believe. Spirituality asks you to look. Religion has dogmas. Spirituality has wisdom teachings. Religion wants obedience. Spirituality wants experimentation. Religion speaks of sin and hell. Spirituality speaks of karma. Religion wants to comfort you. Spirituality wants to liberate you. Religion is external. Spirituality is internal. Religion is the form. Spirituality is the essence. Religion wants to convert you. Spirituality wants to inspire you. Religion is an institution. Spirituality is a journey.
That's good.
Isn't that good?
I do like that.
When I was researching, I found that I said, that is speaking to me.
That's
so,
really good.
Again, this was our opinion.
This is our opinion. Please
And
don't.
these are, again, people who do have faith,
Please.
who have grown up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the church. They've definitely grown up in the
Yeah,
church.
Yeah.
I mean,
But we also know that there needs to be a change in how we view religion, how we use religion.
Definitely.
And the fact that church is a place of refuge, not a place of critique or criticism. It is a space where you should feel safe, and many of us, sometimes all you have is the church, man.
That's deep, because it's true. Especially when I was going through my darkest times.
you know what?
All I felt like I had was the church.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, I should say all I had is God.
Yeah. And
That's what I should
when
say.
it comes to God, and I remember someone asked me, and I actually made an Instagram post about it last Easter, and it just came to mind now, where someone did ask me, because they're like, Carcia, you are so and this person's very secular, and they're like, Carcia, you're like literally the grooviest Christian I know. They're like, you're so like cool and funky and open-minded, and you don't judge me, you know, if I'm saying this and saying that, you're not judging me. And he was just like, how do you relate to something as strict and as stern as religion, as you know, church? And I said to him, I was like, see, I don't worship God through being at church.
No.
I worship God because Jesus rose again. He got back up.
He got up.
They
knocked him down, and he got back up.
He did something that I tried to do.
You see that? Even Jesus did an action,
right? I tried
Jesus showed
to do
the example.
that, and I try to do that every day.
He got back up.
I get up. Regardless of what is going on, I get up. And God is the ultimate person that he literally rose.
They crucified him. They put him to the thing. I said he's dead, and he got back up.
For me, that's an inspiration to continue.
That's the journey.
I do.
That's the journey part. That's it.
And if and that's my religion. So that's why I don't care about makeup. I don't care about rings. I don't care who's wearing.
It's really
skirts.
the least of everyone's
I don't care
problem.
about who's wearing hats. I don't care about, because that stuff actually doesn't matter.
I don't think Jesus cares about who's wearing a hat from who's wearing a ring.
It doesn't matter because
this or
he
that.
literally rose.
He cares about what's inside. That's what he cares about. But as us, well, not us, but as as man, yes, it was all about the external.
And
that's why I love that. That's really
wasn't
good.
it? And so I'm gonna put that poem up because I thought again, and when it ended with religion is an institution and spirituality is a journey, I thought that encapsulates everything, because I know that this is a journey that I'm on. I've gone through. I'm 40 years old. I've gone through different paths with God, different ways that God has taken me, and now He's using me to do something else. He used us to do the show.
That's it.
The show came out of my faith and wanting to go on a new journey, and God popping in an idea in my head and me seizing it. And Pastor Miko said something a few weeks ago when I was in church, and he said, "Moments are to be seized, not sauntered into." Now that's a word from the Lord that I took. That was a word, and I said, okay, I know what you're saying, because we'd already started the show and all these things that happened, right? So we need to remember that. Have faith. Faith is an action word. Do, and do not criticize if one does not know.
That's it.
So we're going to leave that basically on that. Next week's episode, it's going to be a big one.
I remember this time, though.
A very big one. However, we are going to be reading, if you haven't read it, we're going to be basing next week's show on Tiffany Haddish's book, The Last Black Unicorn. If you do have any books that you think we should read, if you haven't seen our promo from the beginning, one episode each month will be based on a book. So if you've written a book, know someone that's written a book, and you think it would be great content for us to use for the show,
hit us up.
Please let us know. Again, I think we said it in the beginning, but if you know anybody that's doing amazing things in the community, please let us know. And if you have any topic ideas that you think we should talk about, because again, we are building a community, we are not doing this by ourselves, please let us know. So we want to thank you. We thank you for joining us. I can see Carcia's typing, so that means that there's some comments coming in.
Okay, that's so creepy just now, because you're looking at Sheba and typing, and I'm just kind of like,
this is what
exorcism sickness
this is what years of corporate life does to you. You can
scared,
type and never look at the screen.
Like, why are you looking at Sheba and typing at the same time?
And fully hearing what she's saying, and
it actually
fully
makes
being
sense.
able to write a sentence.
I'm scared.
Okay, so listen, we usually end it with a song.
What are our takeaways?
And oh my God, how would I forget? So I'm gonna look up the song and then our takeaway from the show. What is your takeaway, Carcia?
My takeaway is basically, yes, the difference between spirituality and religion. And I think that when you're spiritual, you are the politics that are within church culture will not bother you, because you're just having your own personal relationship with God.
You're in your own journey.
And everything else.
Who cares what's going on around you?
That's my takeaway.
That's cool. My takeaway is something I've been practicing for years, but today just reinstated it. Faith without works is dead.
Oh my God, that was going to be my takeaway.
Well, look at that. See, great minds. And that's it. You can't expect something to work if you're not even willing to put in the work in the first place. So, I mean, that's my takeaway.
That is it. So I'm actually going to combine the two. One, spirituality is a journey.
Yes.
It is a journey. it is something that we're constantly on, that we're constantly evolving. And again,
Definitely.
prayer without work is going to give you nothing.
Absolutely.
You actually
nothing.
have to put in the work. Praying is great, and you can talk to
Yes.
God.
Robert Graham says hi.
Hey, what up? But faith without work is going to get you nowhere.
That's it.
So those are our takeaways, and I'm going to pull up my Spotify because my girl over there is typing, because you know what we mean. Because we want to what? We want to rule the world. Hey, hey. Tell Miles what up.
Yeah, for real. Come on, now. It's been like a month now. Why haven't you discovered us yet? It's time to discover.
Thank you. We're ready to rule the world. Come rule the world with us. And
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks again.